Well, first, the mainstream media in the West is terrible. It's just terrible. It has not done anything but swallow hook, line, and sinker Washington and London, and to a wider perspective, NATO's mantra. And that's a shame, because we are not very well served in this country. And this is a serious, very serious situation. It gets more serious every day that goes by. And how do you interpret this if you don't listen to the media? You simply can't and get a good view. Your kind of media, independent media, different story there. Normally you're going to get one side powerfully and then go to another independent media source and get another side powerfully, but that's better than getting the hype and so forth. Somewhere in there's the truth.
Ukraine was just a step too far, understandably. Ukraine is an extremely large country. It was used twice in the last century to invade Russia at the end of World War I, and then, of course, with the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union, and then in the century before, of course, Napoleon. So there is historical trauma, but I don't think the United States would have reacted much differently if, for instance, this was happening in Mexico or Canada. And we can go back and look at Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
NATO is a Trojan horse. It's effectively a US military operation conducted on European soil. Bases in France, bases in Germany, not France, in Germany, bases in Italy, and so on. It's basically a US operation. It's not really European. I mean, it would be trivial to call it European. When Trump came and scolded once, Stoltenberg told him, what are you doing? I mean, he's talking to an employee, not to an equal. So in that sense, there's a debate in Europe, and has been for a long time, between this, NATOist Atlantic project, where Europe has to subordinate itself to the United States, and then a Gaullist idea of Europe having its own foreign policy objectives.
It's very easy to think of scenarios that could lead on to nuclear war. So far, Russia has not attacked supply lines, the supply lines that are bringing in massive supplies to Ukraine. Actually, Western analysts have wondered why they're not doing it. Well, sooner or later they might do it. In that case, they run into a conflict with NATO. At that point, your imagination can move very quickly up the escalation ladder. Again, there are two ways to deal with that. One way is violence, what comes naturally to the United States and its allies. The other way is negotiation and diplomacy. Well, what do we see? 100% talked about escalating violence.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt that the United States government engaged in torture. Proving this beyond a reasonable doubt would be a matter that even the most incompetent prosecutor could undertake, and yet the International Criminal Court has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. No international tribunal has even attempted to hold any U.S. politician or U.S. military figure accountable for even the most obvious of its war crimes. So the United States government and those who support it, including the Canadian government, they have absolutely no moral authority to insist that any leader, any military figure in the states that are considered to be the official enemies of the West be held accountable by a tribunal. Once we've cleaned up our own house, then and only then will we have the moral authority to demand that of others.
It's really important for people to think not so much which side are you on, are you on the side of the West or the side of Russia, but are you on the side of a peaceful future, of diplomacy? Are you on the side of non-militarized relations? Because inside of this framework of NATO, it's a disaster from the get-go, and there is, it's not a solvable problem from within the framework of the U.S. empire.